And now, a special edition of the Toddcast podcast.
Powered by Citywide Mortgage Services, providing complete financing and mortgage services for residential and small commercial businesses. Visit them at citywidemortgage.ca.
Now, here's your host, Todd Hancock.
Over the last 8 years, since we launched, I bet you we've probably asked close to 500 guests to share a near-death story. One where you could have, or you should have died. A brush with death, you could say. And most of us have one. In fact, I have a few. I'll share one where I broke my collarbone in Terrace, northern BC's grade 11. I'm riding a 10-speed bike, a buddy's bike, no brakes, of course. And we're going so fast, me and a couple buddies, by the end of the hill, I'm almost running into my buddies. I told them, you guys go ahead. As soon as it gets to the bend, I'll start riding and catch up to you guys. So instead of running into my buddies, I thought, you know what, I'll just take the sidewalk. Problem being is the inertia of me going from the road at such a crazy speed. Like, I passed cars going down this hill so easily, 50, 60K. So when it went from the road to the sidewalk, I kept going off the sidewalk, through people's yards. I'm mowing down, like, it's crazy. I come to the beveled walkway of a local playhouse, a little theater, and I flew over because of course I Pac-Man my front tire. I flew over the handlebars. We're talking like a good 20, maybe 30 feet, not even kidding. And I shoulder checked a telephone pole. And the doctor said, man, you're so lucky. Over 6 inches, and it would have been your head. You probably would have died or wish that you did. And that's what this week is all about. You'll hear from 12 guests as they share their near-death stories. Arkells have been around since 2006, have done a phenomenal job of climbing their way to the top of the Canadian rock heap. 6 albums in, couple EPs, a bunch of radio hits. They headlined the 108th Grey Cup halftime show just last year. Check out what their singer Max Kerman had to say.
I was riding my bike one time when I was a teenager, and I went fucking head first into a metal fence. But I was wearing a helmet, so I got or else I probably would have been dead, to be honest. And actually, one time I don't know how near death, it felt kind of near death. We were driving through, of course, the Rocky Mountains in British Columbia. Right. I think it was between Kamloops and Kelowna.
In January.
And in January. And of course, there's a sign, like a permanent sign, as you're going up the mountain that said fog ahead. And I thought to myself, I was like, what are the chances it'll be fog, like that it's fog all the time? And then, of course, in about 2 minutes, we were in the middle of fog. And we could not see anything. And lucky for us, there was definitely a local who was in front of us who put on his taillights, and we were able to. And you could tell he knew the roads and was pretty confident. We just followed his taillights down the mountain. But it's just like, oh God, why do we do that?
We'll move on to a near-death story from one of the members of Hailstorm. Their debut came out in 2009. They have not slowed down since, quite literally, pre-pandemic. I mean, we're talking 200, 250 shows a year. Name the rock band, they have toured with them. 3 Days Grace, Papa Roach, Evanescence, Godsmack, Bullet for My Valentine. They won a Grammy Award for the Best Hard Rock Metal Performance in 2013. Top 10 Billboard albums, one of the best rock bands of the last decade, no question. Listen to singer Lizzie Hale's near-death story.
I can probably count about 3, I want to say 3 times, and it's just mainly because of travel, it's like twice as just in the bus, we're right. Going down a snowy mountain, and you're literally and this is everybody, everybody pulls by the curtain, all right, guys, brace yourselves, this could be it. Wow. It was a good run. And then one was on a plane, really just, and it's weird because it's not something I think about often, but when it gets bad enough for you to be like, all right, well, there's a strong possibility that this could be it, and then you start thinking man, did we record everything that we needed to record? You feel like you're thinking of one or anything like that. So where's all my hard drives? Yeah.
Who's going to clear my history?
Dude, that's a real thing. That needs to go in my will. Thank you for reminding me of that. But then the other time, we did get a bomb threat once, and we had to make the decision whether or not we should actually go on, or not. And so we had everybody do a sweep, and then we just kind of all huddle in a circle and be like, all right, What are we going to do? Well, it was a good run, everybody. Let's just, because, there's people there.
Right.
So we decided to do the show anyway, but the whole time you're thinking, well,
this could be the last one.
I hope this is a really good show.
Yeah. You can't let that stuff, that can't control you, though, right? Like, that's the stuff that, if you let that control you, then they win. They win then.
That was the decision, because we basically said, well, we can cancel, but then we'll have that in the back of our mind and be like, well, then what happens when the next time that happens?
Right. It's
like we can't start out that way.
No.
Yeah.
No.
So we went out and did it. So yeah, there have been a couple where you kind of have to mentally prepare yourself for, like, all right, this could be it.
Next year, 2023, marks the 40th year as a band for NoFX, and the whole time, never signing to a major record label. It's impressive when you consider and you start talking about the best 90s punk from Green Day and Offspring, Bad Religion. NoFX is in that same breath. 14 studio albums. They've sold over 8 million copies. Their latest just came out early last year, and we had on their singer, Fat Mike.
Well, a few times. I was on a hike when I was like 13 in some camp, and we ran out of water over this ridge, and we had about a 12-mile hike in 95 degrees with no water.
Wow.
And I definitely look at life. I looked at life differently after that. Cause,
really?
We had to hike over a mountain, over a ridge, 12 miles.
Like just dying at the end of it.
Yeah, no one has really experienced lack of water for an entire day in that kind of heat. It was a life changer. And I almost drowned once, surfing when I was a kid, boogie boarding. And more recently, I was bike riding, and this truck made a right turn really fast. I was just waiting on a corner, and he started to roll over me. And I hit that truck with my left hand, and he stopped only because he heard my hand. He wouldn't have seen me.
Wow, dude.
So, that was kind of near death.
And Saint Asonia originally teased the band, The Project, in 2015 in an online post that said between the members of the band, there were 25 top 10 rock singles, of which 17 went to number 1. Original 3 Days Grace singer Adam Gontier teamed up with Stained lead guitarist Mike Mouchak. They created a Canadian supergroup, I guess you could say. Finger Eleven's drummer Rich Bedeau was the original drummer. Now it's Cody Watson, who is the drum tech for Art of Dying, and Cale Gontier, who is Adam's cousin, who you'd know from playing with Art of Dying. Well, he's the band's bassist. Singer Adam has been on the podcast. We go way back to the beginning of 3 Days Grace. He's a great guy, one of the best singers in rock, and he shared this near-death story.
I've been in a couple really close calls on the highway, especially the 401 across from like Kingston to Toronto. But
as you're touring in the wintertime like Canadian bands do?
Yeah, exactly. Well, this was just me in the car, and I hit the shoulder. I wasn't looking at the road, and I hit the shoulder, and I was a young driver, so I kind of reached the steering wheel back in and just did a full 2, spins around in the middle of the highway, and for a split second saw some traffic coming at me, but I ended up facing the other way. So
the Toddcast podcast is powered by Milano Coffee, bringing you the finest espresso and coffee concepts in the world. Online at milanocoffee.ca.
Hey operator, I got a question, I'm talking to you. Can you make a connection? I made too few. I wanna see her, but I got no time. I wanna tell her that I'll toe the line. I wanna hear her voice and know she's finally
just darlings of the scene here in Vancouver. Everybody loves Bend Sinister, and their song is called Shannon, if you hadn't picked that up. I missed their show at the Hollywood Theatre in Kitsilano earlier in the year, so we asked their singer Dan Moxon to do one of those acoustic interview nights that we're doing at Blue Light Studio in East Vancouver. They're called the Blue Light Sessions. Super cool. They're fun nights. It's usually the last Saturday of the month. We just, in fact, had Cobra Ramon and Sean Varro together this past Saturday. And yes, it was as magical, as good as you're making it out to be in your mind. As we get back to the guests in this Near Death Stories podcast, and a handful of our past sporting guests, you'll know MMA fighter Benson Henderson as a lightweight fighter for Bellator MMA. He also fought back in the day for the UFC, currently Bellator's number 4 lightweight.
Have I ever had a near-death experience? That's a good question. I don't know if I ever got that one before. I think I'll have to say no. Nothing comes to mind as far as having a near-death experience. I'll say one time, my buddy and I were being pretty stupid. My college roommates, Chris Egan and Anthony Byers, Jared Owens, we went hiking. We went camping and hiking. We were just got ready to college, so we wanted to go have a good time, go do something. So we went camping, completely into wilderness camping. So not like, where everybody else is, and then they all have the power hookups and whatnot. But we went into the wilderness. We had to hike I think 4.5 miles even to get to the wilderness area.
Like camping.
And then we were super unprepared.
Yeah.
Yeah, actual legitimate camping. We didn't have enough food to eat. We got super hungry, and we were almost starved, and didn't have the right kind of sleeping bags. And the sleeping bags were rated to 50 degrees, but it got down to negative 10 degrees where we're at. We're really dumb. We really need to be smart about when we go camping. So one time we were going camping, and we went on a crazy hike that turned into a mountain climb while we went on that camping trip, and I slid. I ended up sliding down, and I caught myself at the last second, but it was sheer ledge after where I slid, almost fell. It was I slid and I caught myself, but maybe 2 feet, 3 feet below where I was at was a sheer drop down to 40, 50 feet. So
yeah.
That probably would have, I would have not probably lived that long after falling from that height.
Lauren Sesselman is a Canadian Olympic bronze medalist from the 2012 Summer Olympics. She currently plays for the Santa Clarita Blue Heat, and when she was a guest, she shared a near-death story.
I have not, but I did save my father's life, who was he was having a heart attack.
Wow.
So I think that was kind of I was helping him instead of me personally having it. But I had a dream that he was in a bad car accident, and that something was wrong, and I woke up at 3 a.m., and I found him on the ground having a heart attack.
Wow.
So that was pretty
How
crazy
old were you when that happened?
It was a couple of years ago. I can't even remember. I can't remember the age, but yeah, it was pretty scary.
If you follow football, the CFL specifically, you'll know that BC Lions quarterback Michael Riley retired over the offseason. He ended up playing 11 seasons in total. He was the starting quarterback for the Eskimos when Edmonton won in 2015. He was also named the Grey Cup's most valuable player. He was the CFL's most outstanding player in 2017, played in the NFL as well for the Steelers, Packers, Rams, the Seahawks, and he has an awesome near-death story.
It was so when I was in high school, I was out at a friend's house who lived not that far. And so I grew up in Washington, but I graduated from high school in Montana. We moved there midway through my junior year. So I was in Montana. I think it was my senior year of high school. And I was driving home from a buddy's place. It wasn't super late, but it was late fall. And so it was already dark out, maybe 7 or 8 o'clock. But it was this massive windstorm. One of those ones where you see these big trees completely swaying and everything like that. And there's lightning and thunder and all this kind of stuff. And it wasn't that long of a drive. It was 10-minute drive to get back to my house. And I'm on 2 Mile Drive, which is very close to where my parents' house is. And I'm within 30 seconds of being home. And as I'm driving down the road, a tree blows over into the middle of the road. I'm going, 40 miles an hour, maybe speed limit, whatever it was. But it's got a fork in the trunk, and it hit right as my car drove through it, and my car went through the fork in the tree. And so 1 second I'm driving, the next second I'm like on an incline sitting there. For some reason, the airbag didn't go off, but because I think it just went right through the fork, but the trunk came through the windshield and was just inches from my face where I stopped. And so I had glass all over me. I had like leaves and stuff. I mean, I had no idea what the hell's going on here. I'm like sitting in my car. There's a tree in my car. And so, I took a minute to like compose myself, and I was able to open the door still. And I like shimmied out from the car and looked at it. And I was like, this is back. I'm in high school. We don't have cell phones yet.
Yeah.
I'm right. Like they existed, but not in the capacity they do now. So I just like grabbed my keys and I just jogged home. It was like, like a 2-minute jog. So I like run through the backyard, and the back slider's locked, and my parents are sitting in the dining room, like talking to each other. I'm like knocking on the door, and I got like tree branches. Like, I got some like cuts on my face. I'm like bleeding, and my mom is like, "What the hell is going on?"
Here?
Like, so I tell them, and we get in their car and we drive out of the neighborhood and down the street. And when we pulled up to where it was, my mom, like, because she was like, I was trying to explain it to her. I don't think they really understood what I was saying. But when we got there and like she saw it, she just like broke down and started like crying. She was like amazed that I wasn't dead. It was the craziest experience that I've had, and it was super weird. But yeah, it was like a cool story the next day at school.
Of course, man, for the rest of your life.
High school, you don't really think much of it, but looking back on it, I'm like, wow, that was crazy.
And NHRA drag racer Tina Stull has been on the podcast. The driver, the owner of Tina Stull Racing, competing in Top Dragster, Comp Eliminator, short and long wheelbase, Super Comp, Quick Rod, and as you might expect, she has her share of near-death stories.
Oh yeah. One time when I was first racing, got down about half track and noticed my one wheel was just shaking really bad in the front and had 3 bolts come off, and it was being held on by one bolt. And I'll tell you, it scares you. I've gotten down about half track, this is like a year ago, and I'm going down fine. All of a sudden my car is sideways.
Red Truck Beer. Nothing delivers like a red truck. Official beer of the Toddcast podcast.
This concrete will break my fall. After every bottle I showed hits the wall. Another wasted night. But does it always end up with no friends inside? So make your way to the water, wait inside. Escape the storm that's raging within your mind. When everything is falling apart at the seams, you needed someone to help, something to kill the pain. So just ask yourself, is this really the end? Where'd you have it all begin? So get it while you can. The water's rising fast. This concrete will break my fall, and I don't even feel it anymore. It's just so hard to take, so I'll keep drinking till there's no one left to hate. By myself. By myself.
There you have it, the lone non-Vancouver band on this week's podcast. From Victoria, a crushing band called Poor Sport, and their song is called Tearing at the Seams. Now, if you remember a band we used to play called No Liars, well, Poor Sport came from that band breaking up. I cannot wait to see these guys live. No Liars. was wicked live. We had them play for the podcast a couple times. I'm sure you can expect the same thing out of Poor Sport. Coming up shortly, you won't believe this week's Mortgage Minute and the life hack that Dara drops on us. First, though, back to more near-death stories and some past entertainment guests. You'll know actress Anne Mahoney for a handful of roles. Most likely it'll be Olivia on The Walking Dead. She played Beth on Rectify and was Elvis's mom, Gladys, on Sun Records.
One of them was I have asthma, and I've had it my whole life, and I had a very bad asthma attack in 1998, and I was hospitalized. And they just couldn't get my lungs to clear up, and they were about to intubate me. And I remember very clearly feeling that tug to the other side, for sure. So there's that one. And there's been 3 or 4 different times in my life where I've narrowly missed dying. So, yeah, it's a common kind of theme in my life. Yeah.
Do you remember a Canadian comedian named Mike Ward? He was in hot water about a decade back for something he'd said about a disabled singer named Jeremy Gabriel, the early 2000s, maybe like 2012, 2013, something like that. Let me jog your memory if you don't remember. So Mike was ordered to pay $42,000. $35,000 goes to Jeremy, $7,000 goes to the mom. Gabriel's parents were actually looking for $80,000 in damages. Long story short, as it should have, the Supreme Court of Canada overturned the lower court's decision, essentially saying that what Mike had said didn't lead to the discriminatory treatment of Mr. Gabriel. Talk about what a slippery slope. Comedians. Anyway, when Mike was a guest, he shared a scary near-death story.
I was in a car accident a couple of years ago, but I knew I was going to survive, but I thought my girlfriend at the time was going to die.
Wow.
So that, it was her near death.
Wow.
Yeah.
What happened? Why did you think that?
We were driving on the highway, and then there was a guy coming in. He was going on the, in our lane, but in the wrong direction. And then he hit us head on, at 100. We were going about 100. He was probably going 150.
Wow.
And she hit her head on the steering wheel. It was in the old days. We didn't have airbags. And I kind of passed out for half a second. When I woke up, her head was on the steering wheel. Her eyes were open, and blood was gushing out of one of her eyes.
Wow.
So I was like, oh, Jesus, okay, she's dead for sure. And then it took her about it felt like a couple of minutes. It was probably only a couple of seconds. But I saw that she was breathing, and she was okay. And she ended up no damage at all. I screwed up my shoulders and legs, but she's fine. All she has is she had a little scar, but on her eyebrow, so you can't even tell because there's hair on top of it.
Wow, dude, that's insane! What a crazy story.
Yeah, and the guy who ran into us, he didn't get anything because we had a really crappy little car, but he had a pretty big. It was in the old days when people had Broncos before OJ ruined Broncos for everyone.
Yes.
So he hit us with the Bronco, and we were driving a little Suzuki Sprint.
Oh my God, dude! Yeah, that's crazy. That's a crazy story.
Yeah, and I saw how close that we came to because I knew she came close to death, but then I thought maybe I did too. Because when I called the insurance company, the person who had seen our car was like, "Okay, you guys are still alive. You should have died from that." But we were maybe 20, 21. When you're young, you're tougher. Now in my 40s, if I got into an accident like that, I'd be dead for sure.
Without a doubt, you will know Sangeeta Patel for a couple of reasons. She's currently the host of HGTV's Home to Win, and she's an on-air personality for ET Canada.
I will not forget, I fly a lot, I travel a lot, and there was one flight to New York, LaGuardia, and I don't know if you've ever flown to LaGuardia.
No.
Their runways are pretty short, so it's fairly fast when you land. However, this one flight, we were at full speed in an incline to the point I was sitting with the person next to me and we were holding hands.
Wow.
It was not a slow decline in the speed. We were going full pace. I'm surprised we landed. We were kicking around when we actually landed. And as we walked out, I saw the pilot, and the pilot maybe was 18 years old. I don't know what was happening. But at that moment, I was praying to God, and I was trying to get my phone on to say, send a text to my husband. So that was the one time I was like, okay, this is the end. So, yeah, I won't forget that. And that was just a year ago.
Wow.
Yeah. I sure sent out a report and found out what happened, because that was not normal.
And you'll best know actor Vincent Ward from playing Oscar in The Walking Dead. He was also Beau in The Starter Wife, and you've seen him on Everybody Hates Chris, True Blood, Ocean's 11. And when Vincent was a guest, we got him to share a near-death story.
Two things that was near-death, and it reminds me of Oscar, really. My character from The Walking Dead, I had a scene where Rick was pointing his gun at me, and I told him, I ain't never pleaded for my life, so you do what you got to do. It was this guy I had went to high school with, and he was younger than me. And, as kids, you call each other names, you crack on each other, just tell jokes on each other and whatnot. And we used to call him a broke Puff Daddy, because he used to look just like Puff Daddy. And when we got out of high school, he became this big-time drug dealer, right? And one day I saw him walking down. I hadn't seen him in years. And one day I saw him walking down the street. And I picked him up. I said, hey, Nino Brown, what you doing walking? Now, Nino Brown was he was Wesley Snipes in New Jack City.
Okay.
And so he gets in the car, and we're talking. And then all of a sudden he said, man, you remember you used to crack on me in school? I was like, yeah, man, everybody used to crack on each other. And he pulled a gun out and put it to my face. And he said, let me see you crack on me now.
Wow.
And I was like, dude, we were young, man. We were young. Wow. Everybody was cracking on each other. And for some reason I wasn't scared, though.
Yeah, I didn't expect him to pull the trigger.
Whatever's going to happen was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then his thing was, I just wanted to let you know who the man is now. And he said, let me out over here. And I let him out. And I remember another time, you ever heard of White Castles?
Oh, yeah.
Me and three of my buddies were sitting in White Castles, and these girls had walked past. Nobody had said anything to them. They went to the restroom, they came back out, and then one of them came to our table and was like, which one of y'all called me a bitch? So we're sitting there like, what are you talking about? Nobody had even said anything to them. And so she's like, all right, I got something for y'all. And she went outside, and she came back in with some guy. And, he was like, which one of y'all called my woman a bitch? And we was like, man, didn't nobody even say anything to them. And then, of course, the girl was like, the one in the red shirt? And everybody looked at their shirt, and I had to be the one with the red shirt on.
Of course. Of course.
Yeah, so this dude, he had cocked the gun and everything. It was like it was slow motion because everybody in White Castle that was ordering food, that was working, it's like they all just stopped and watched. And he basically said, you better get all these people looking, or else I'll kill you right now. He left out.
Shit, dude. I just want a burger. I just wanted some fries.
Right. Nobody has said anything to them.
Good God.
So, yeah, that's near death.
Nude Vodka Soda powers the Toddcast podcast. Sugar and sweetener free, with just 100 calories and 0 carbs per serving. Visit them online at nudebeverages.com.
When you're alone, all alone.
got to be one of the best voices in the biz, one of the hardest working guys I know. The band is Minefield, and the song is Alone Together. And yes, that is Todd Kearns singing. Now, Todd's coming back to Vancouver, if you hadn't heard. He's coming to do another podcast. Well, not just us, he's going to see family and stuff, but he's doing another podcast show. And I think this is like 4 or 5 for us now. It seems like every couple of years we do one anyway. And we're absolutely beyond the moon happy about grabbing him to play a Toddcast Blue Light Sessions at Blue Light Studio, East Vancouver. It's on a Thursday this time, Thursday, December 22nd. It's the same drill as always. Now, Todd's going to be banging off a couple 45-minute sets kind of thing. We'll grill him, of course, bunch of questions. You get to ask questions as well if you're in the audience. So grab a ticket now before they're all gone. There's only 60 tickets being sold. Get them through eventbrite.ca. They're $20. That's BRITE.ca. $20, or it's $25 if you want to risk it. I wouldn't suggest that. Night of. Should be a fun little night. And before we wrap things up, another citywide mortgage services mortgage minute. Now, why didn't we learn about stuff like this in high school instead of capital cities of Canada? Not that I'm not happy to know your Regina. What have you got for us this week, Dara?
As I touched on last week, we talked a little bit about credit scores and getting ready for applying for a mortgage. 650 is the minimum score you need to get a mortgage with most banks these days. 700 or higher is what you need to ensure you're able to get the best rate. So there are many things you can do to ensure your credit is in great shape, but I'm going to share with you the most important, the top 3. The number 1 is make your payments on time. Super obvious, I know, but it's important to the algorithm that dictates your credit score. That's one of the most important things. Number 2 is don't apply for tons of credit. 6 to 8 times a year is normal and expected, but anything more than that will make the algorithm think you're a credit seeker and you're applying for credit all over the place. Each credit application from that point on will start to knock your score down big time. So next time you're at Best Buy or the Brick and they offer you 10% off if you open a card, really think twice about that. Is it worth it? And consider before you do it how many credit checks you've had lately. And lastly, this is a bit of a lesser known one, but it's so important. Keep balances at less than 70% of the credit limit. And what I mean by that, anything like a credit card or a line of credit is what we call in the industry a revolving debt. If you have a revolving debt with a limit of, say, $10,000, you must never let the balance go over $7,000, 70% of that limit. The reason is when your credit is checked, it takes a snapshot of your balances on a certain day. If all your credit cards are maxed, even though you might pay them off in full every month, it tells the algorithm you're overextended and you're possibly living beyond your means. This is so crucial to keeping your credit score high. So those are the top 3 things people can do to make sure their credit score is healthy.
Getting a mortgage should be painless. Talk to my friends at citywidemortgage.ca. They will make it easy and look after you start to finish. As now, we'll put a little bow on this week. We're talking near-death stories. I hope you like this week's podcast. We sure love putting these ones together, combing through, the past guests and episodes and kind of trying to paint that picture along the way, this time being near death. My name is Todd Hancock. Thank you so much for listening. If you like what you heard, as always, please tell your friends. You can subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud for the audio. You can subscribe on YouTube for all of the video content. Comment and rate the podcast. It helps out. Search it out through Toddcast Podcast. Of course, a massive thanks to all of our phenomenal sponsors. Without them, we would not be doing this, straight up. You can find links to all sponsor websites at toddhancock.ca. Till next week, don't be an asshole. Nobody wants to be around that. Have fun, play hard, and most of all, believe in yourself.
You've been listening to the Toddcast Podcast, powered by Citywide Mortgage Services, dedicated to helping you find the best mortgage rates. Available 7 days a week at citywidemortgage.ca.
Now, before you go hunting for something else to listen to, let me make it easy. I'm Mike Carruthers, host of a podcast called Something You Should Know, and I speak with experts about fascinating things that affect your life, from human behavior, relationships, health, science, and everyday mysteries. We've been downloaded millions of times because every episode teaches you something you'll be talking about later. Open up Something You Should Know and give it one episode. You might just find your new favorite podcast.
Goodbye, Kyle! Did the sound of those words call to you like Pavlov's dog? Then you might enjoy our podcast, Turtle Time.
Every week, you can join me, Riley Hamilton, and my co-host, Amy Scarlatta, as we cover the most pressing Bravo news and dig into the new episodes to answer important questions like, who the hell is Adrian Malouf in this world?
Listen to Turtle Time on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. New episodes every Wednesday and Friday.
Hi, listeners. We want to tell you about a podcast we love. It's called Rebel Girls, formerly known as Goodnight Stories for Rebel Girls. It's about real-life women who are changing the world with their courage, creativity, and big, bold ideas. Want to know how Taylor Swift became a superstar? Or hear how Simone Biles became the greatest athlete of all time? From immersive stories to heartfelt interviews to super smart advice, Rebel Girls brings you stories that will get you fired up to become your best self. There are over 400 episodes for you to explore, with new episodes every week. So check it out. Listen to Rebel Girls wherever you get your podcasts. And find us on youtube.com/rebelgirls. And whatever you do, stay rebel.